Thank you very much to Nottingham University, Farouk, and also Penang Institute for inviting me. It's a topic that is really very close to my heart. And I do believe in freedom of religion, and also see that when we talk about freedom of religion, we actually have to talk about all other freedoms, and I definitely agree with that. Particularly in Malaysia is freedom of expression, because it is not just in religion that we are restricted in our expression. It is in almost every issues in our lives in Malaysia that we really cannot speak about, and if we do, we either spend 3-4 days in jail under sedition or penal code or whatever laws that they can throw at us. I think that, I will leave Dipendran to actually talk about the law and all that. But I think that when we actually talk about freedom of religion, it is like who manages and who will be the referee when things do not seem to match. And we would have expected, firstly, the government and its agency to actually do the justice, to deliver the justice that we hope, not just that it is being enshrined in the federal constitution, but also reflected in the religion that people believe in. We would have expected perhaps maybe political parties, politicians to actually help in refereeing the situation. And of course, the NGOs, to actually present their views. But basically, I will hold the government accountable, very accountable for actually being a referee in terms of when there is a disagreement over religion. Because in the context of Malaysia, we are still a multicultural, multi-religious society. And everyone is actually a citizen, and we tend to forget about it. Labeling people as pendatang, what is it in English? Migrants and all that, does not help at all in the debate. It doesn't help, because then you're not recognizing that people have also the same right as any citizens in Malaysia. And what is, there are a few challenges that I think Farouk has actually put it out very clearly. But what actually disturbs me is really the agencies that are, because we are now in a very messy situation where nobody actually referees, particularly the government, doesn't really quite referee it. We expect our Prime Minister to say something, but he's silent. He's only concerned about other things like his daughter's wedding. And apparently, whatever happens in this country doesn't seem to cross his mind. And I think that is a pity, because then other forces comes in to actually become the referee. And do we have the right to actually challenge these forces like Jawi, Jais, Mais and all that? We don't seem to have the right to challenge them. Because one, there's no platform to actually have any form of discussion. The moment you talk about Islam, and if you are non-Muslim, or even now, Muslims, if you talk about Islam, you are either against Islam, you are talking about something that is deviant, you don't understand Islam, and you are branded. And that is one way in which people who want to actually engage in the whole discussion to actually improve in how we actually deal with the religion itself, people who want to engage are totally silent. Whether you say anything in the social media or in any of the ceramah or in any of the talks, you are put into a fearful situation of whether, when I walk out of this door, will I be thrown with the Sedition Act. And I think that, we have actually therefore given room to conservative religious authorities who literally has no immunity, who literally has immunity, in terms of how they actually interpret and actually execute the Sharia laws. So if you look at the example of the former Mufti, Zainal Abidin, Asri, Dr. Muhammad Asri Zainal Abidin, he actually holds progressive views, and he is somebody who wants to talk about Islam and to engage with whatever and whoever who wants to engage. But he is now treated as though he has said something very wrong and treated as a criminal. And that is how Malaysia actually engages, with people who wants to know more or wants to discuss about Islam. And so therefore, when it arises, the question is, when is it that someone is teaching Islam and when is he not? Because don't forget, he is a former Mufti. And who is in authority to actually decide on what is Islam? And who decides on who teaches Islam? And what are the criteria that constitute teaching of Islam? And on what basis are some certified to teach Islam and some are not? And some are prosecuted while many others can freely preach hatred, racial ill will, and misogyny in the name of Islam. So for example, the case of Nick Reiner, who has been pursued relentlessly for 3 years. 3 years. And bear in mind that the court actually ruled in favor of her. Jawi doesn't even care. Jawi just went after her for 3 years. Now, is that the Islam that we want for Malaysia? And recently, of course, the BFM issue, where she actually put up her position on how she feels about hudud. If you disagree with her, engage. We talk about it. You do not actually threaten her with rape and murder, and to actually say that, taking her life. And when the father actually speaks out on her behalf, he is also threatened. So, sorry. Oh, the father is here. And I think that is how people get silenced, and people have been put into a situation that, we don't talk about Islam because, of the fear of being arrested, the fear of threats that are coming from people that we don't even know who they are. Who are these people making the threats, and what is the police doing about these people who are making these threats? Even if you remember, there's the incident of Touch the Dog, a campaign to actually introduce to the Muslims about why touching the dog is all right, and that there are certain processes that can follow after that, after you have touched the dog. Even that small issue becomes a big issue and taken to mean that, you are really teaching a deviant Islam. That is the way in which we have allowed, because our government is so silent or have other golf engagement, that we actually forget that, what is primary in this country. And the other thing is that, that I want to say is that because there is no consultation, there's no dialogue, look at the way in which the hudud in Kelantan has been passed. Do we even have a say in that? Do we even have a copy of the law for us to actually read and actually comment on it? We don't. We don't have a copy of that law. And it's being passed in Kelantan. We can say that, PAS is saying, although PAS has declared in the last election, there is a political party for all. To be honest, it is really since we are recording, I will not say the, the word. I think they are lying to us, they are lying to the citizens. I think that that is the thing that we have to actually tell PASS that, you don't say that you are PASS for all, and yet you withhold information and you cheat the citizens into voting for you. And then you present this hudud law that nobody can actually discuss because we don't even see it at all. And that is not the kind of Islam that we should be actually promoting, because if you say that Islam is compassion, it's about justice, it's about equality, it's about, your faith and all that, then there has to be certain ways in which we can actually promote that. But if you silent people into, you are non-Muslim, you can't discuss about it, or that you are Muslim but you are deviant, you don't understand, then where is this Malaysia that we want to build towards? And I think that the other point is that we have actually allowed these people, these conservative ideas, to actually grow without us having a say, because we are so fearful that if we say anything, it will offend the Muslims. If not, we will be put into jail. We have allowed them to actually dominate how Islam or any religion should be run. So therefore, they can actually go in and seize the Bible as and when they like. And even though there are court orders against them, they can still pursue Nick Reiner as and when they want. And we have allowed that to happen without any outcry over it. And I think that, and that actually also comes to, because of the silence of the government, the moderate voices have not been able to come out very strongly. And I think, and for Malaysia, especially now, after 2008, where we actually can see the possibility of change, and change doesn't mean that, it's a bad thing. When we see that there's a possibility that we can actually change, then all the more reason why, whether you are moderate or not, you should speak up. We cannot be silent anymore, because if we keep silent, then it is not just about Kelantan. It will be Malacca, it will be Selangor, and many other states will actually follow suit. And you cannot tell me that hudud does not affect other religion. It does. A Muslim criminal is not going to say, hey, are you a Muslim or a non-Muslim? Before I try to break into your house, you're not going to ask that. And when you bring that case into the court of law, which court of law do you go under? And that's why we have a lot of issues when the men actually convert into Islam and bring along their children and convert into Islam, and yet the non-converting spouse has no say. Because the non-converting spouse is not actually covered under Sharia. And civil law has actually kind of washed their hands off this kind of cases. So we are actually at a threshold where we have cases, but we can't deal with them. So you talk about justice, there's no justice for these people. And that's why you have so many of these cases of spouses where their children have been taken away from them because they have converted, the father has converted them into Muslim, and they have no access to these children. And we have no answer. The nation has no answer for these people. And we have also allowed, the way in which they deal with the women, in which most of the time when the issue of dressing, I mean, some people, politicians can actually say that if you wear makeup and wear high heel, you are actually asking to be raped. And these are actually our political party people, leaders. And some people can even say that, you know, that under hudud you will be taken care of when there is a rape case. But how are you going to, in any rape case, how are you going to find the 4 Muslim men to come and say that, yes, I saw the rape happening? So, I mean, there are discrepancies within the Sharia laws, and also there are discrepancies within the civil laws. But there must be a meeting point where we have to iron out these differences, these gaps, so that we can ensure that justice is delivered. And for Malaysia to actually move on from now on is really for each and every one of us in this room, not to leave this room and think that this is over, but to actually take the challenge to actually talk about it with whoever that you meet, and to actually say something about how you want this country to be run. Thank you.